Okay. Here we go. You ready? We're going to introduce now. Are we tweeting? Yes. All right. So we're going to introduce Joe from Group Dynamics. Give him a round of applause, please. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for coming along. As Caleb said, my name's Joe from Group Dynamics. We do everything from voting and messaging on keypads through to tablets, custom apps, RFID, quite a wide range of things. So instead of doing a demo, I thought it would be best to talk about a few events we've been lucky enough to work on and talk about why our clients chose to use what they did rather than what we did exactly. So I'm just going to move quickly on to the first one, which was a pension roadshow. Any of you experts in pensions? No. We've been doing this for the last couple of years, and the whole thing, the technology side of things, was kind of shaped by a phrase that we had in the first meeting we ever had with this client. And somebody said that they were trying to change the enterprise from being a customer-focused enterprise to being a customer-centric enterprise. It's a bit wishy-washy, but it basically means they were trying to put the customer at the center of everything they did. And to do that, well, as a small business, that's quite easy because you've got a much more personal relationship with your clients. For a large enterprise, it's a lot more difficult. Individual voices tend to get lost. So what they were trying to do is twofold, really, with this app that we were going to come up with, was to build a better relationship with their clients. So to share a lot of information. So it's going from the host of these events to the clients. And instead of selling, they wanted to inform. And the other thing that they wanted to do was obviously if you want to put the customer at the center of your business, you need to know what their needs are, what their requirements are, what their concerns are. So we were trying to gather as much information as possible as well. So that was the premise around our offering, and these are the results, general results of what we did. We had an app on a tablet that we gave out to all of the delegates as they came in, RFID badges so they could sign in so we knew who they were. We had voting, we had messaging, we had people liking the messaging. As part of the sharing information, there were lots of documents available for clients to request that they be sent afterwards. And the actual hosts themselves, the employees, when they logged in, they got an extra button, which allowed them to take notes on the conversations they were having with the clients in the room, just to get as much information as possible about everything. Now, you look at that and you think, yeah, so what? And what we've done in the past, we tend to be guilty of in the past, is look at these different things in splendid isolation. So I'll give you an example. You look at the polling, the voting, and you might say, oh yes, as a group, everyone seems to like option A and nobody likes option B. It's kind of interesting. And then you might look at the questions that were sent in and you say, oh yes, everyone's asking about C. And then you might look at the documents requested and say, oh yes, document X was the most popular. Document Z, no one wanted. And that's great, but it's not really building a picture, is it, about your individuals. It's not putting the customer at the center of your business. What you need to do now, instead of going across them, is to go up and down. So what we were trying to do was give them the information, the individual threads, if you like, of information across this sort of tapestry of data that we've created. I'll give you an example. Let's call him Simon. He was at one of the events in London, and in the polling, in the voting, there was a question about what your biggest concern is with the future of pensions. Now, I know we're not experts about pensions, I'm not either, and he said his concern was about funding. He was in a minority. Fine, okay, he's in a minority. Doesn't really tell us much, does it? Okay, so let's see what Simon said with the questions. So we look at the questions he asked, and he was asking his peers about Brexit. He was interested to know what his peers thought about Brexit and the pensions industry. Not really telling us much, is it? But it's interesting anyway. Then let's look at the documents he requested. Out of all of the documents available, he requested exactly none of them. Now, it wasn't a technological thing. He was obviously engaging with the app. So maybe that's interesting. Maybe none of the documents were of interest to Simon. So then let's have a look at the conversation he had with one of the hosts. Let's try and give it some context. And there we see something, because turns out Simon runs a pension scheme for a company that cleans offices. Most of their employees are on minimum wage. Now, we can suddenly understand why he was concerned about the funding, and he was voting that way. We know a bit more about Simon, don't we? And also it turns out that most of the, a lot of the employees on minimum wage also had English as a second language. They were immigrant workers. They were from overseas. Now we can see why Simon was interested in Brexit, can't we? So I think we understand Simon a lot better now because we've done this thing. And I think that if we have to write a little paragraph for an introduction email, all of us could write something that would fit the bill for Simon and make him interested to come back the next year. So that's what we're trying to do. And I'll try and sum this up very quickly, this case study, in that with technology, what you want to be doing is not looking to build an app, you want to build a relationship. And if you go in with that kind of idea, you will get a lot more out of your technology. That's what we tried to do there, and I think it worked. Right, I'm going to move on to something completely different now, because there was quite a lot of technology. There was quite a lot going on in the app, RFID and so on. Next one was a leadership conference. Now this was for an international airline. Had 250 delegates, and what they wanted to do, they were convinced that the best ideas and solutions were going to be in that room. It was just getting them out. So they wanted to sort of brainstorm some ideas, bounce some ideas around, get people talking. The other problem they had was that they all worked in small teams. So this silo mentality. So, sales wouldn't talk to ops, ops wouldn't talk to marketing, marketing wouldn't talk to accounts, Manchester wouldn't talk to London. So what did we do? Well, the client did a special seating plan that mixed everything up. So people weren't sitting with people they normally sit with. And then instead of giving everyone a tablet, making it individual, we just put one tablet per table and made everything as a group activity. So the client came up with ideas and workshops that got people talking. And because there was only one tablet per table, there was a focus there. They had to work together. The vibe was amazing. And in fact, one of the senior leaders came up to our technician at the end and said, some of these ideas are going to save us tens of thousands of pounds. That's the sort of thing anyone wants, feedback, isn't it? It still makes my hair stand on end when I think about it. But that's completely different from the first one, isn't it? We have one tablet per table here, one tablet per person before, with lots of stuff going on in the app. It was a completely different scenario. So the takeaway from these two now, for me, would be that before you choose your technology, have a think about your audience that's coming to your event. Think about what you're trying to get out of the event. Then you're in the right position to choose your technology. So it's the who plus why equals what. All right? I'll move again on to a third and last case study. I've got 3 minutes left. And again, completely different. This is a financial conference we've been doing for several years. It's the kind of thing, I'm sure you guys all have similar things. We've got 900 registrations, and then only 400 or 500 people show up. So what have we been doing? Well, we've been printing 900 badges, laying them all out, and then only half of them show up, half of the badges go in the bin. And also, Z, Y, X, we're all good at doing our alphabets in inverse order, aren't we? And looking at badges upside down. The client actually said to us, Joe, not doing that anymore. It's not environmentally friendly, it's not good, lots of space, what can we do? So we went away and we thought about it, and we came up with a solution to print the badges on demand as the customers came in, the guests came in. Full colour badges, double-sided, a solution that would print a badge within 5 seconds. And that way, we only printed the badges we needed. And the added value to that was that we had a live attendee list. We had the customer coming up to us saying, who's here from Barclays? And we could tell them. Has this person arrived? Yes. And also, because we were printing the full colour badge, if they were a speaker, they got an orange badge. If they were a client, they got a purple badge. It didn't really matter. The system was flexible enough to do that. We've got it on our stand over in the corner there in stand number 2 if you want to come and make your own badge. So that's something, again, completely different. And I'm going to create a rod for my own back with my very last slide, because the takeaway from this one is that innovation comes from never being satisfied. So if you guys go around and you use some event technology, please say thank you to them, if it goes well at the end of the event, to your suppliers, but also say, hold on, let's sit down. How can we make it better for next year? Because that's where you get some innovation. Challenge them to improve this. Nothing's perfect. We can all do stuff better. So have a look at everything that's gone on and try and make it better for next year. And that's my set of slides for today. And as I said, if you'd like to see any of our stuff, come over. Our stand over by the cloakroom. And any questions? No? Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Joe. Really appreciate it. All right, excellent.